I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, May the 17th, where your real-time index late on Wednesday was flat $6 lower than late Tuesday. So that's how much that's on a moving average. That's how much your feeder cattle market has been down middle of the week here in your major auction markets. But we'll talk more about that in a minute. First, I want to address something that I hate to have to do, but you know, I've been reporting cattle markets for 22 years. The last 10 of them or so I've been doing video markets such as this. Probably the first 6 of those 10 years with USDA as part of your weekly National Feeder Cattle Summary. Almost 4 years here with DV Auction, and we've been doing it on a daily basis here for quite some time, a couple of years anyway. But you know, you talk 5 to 10 minutes a day, every day, giving your opinion about the livestock markets and what's going on out there. Try to do it in an honest way, in a language that people kind of associate with, easy to understand. Even if they're not well versed in what's going on, they feel like they kind of know some things about the market. But when you start giving your opinion that often, you're going to ruffle some feathers, and most of the time I don't worry too much about that. You know, that's gonna, you know what they say about opinions, and I've got one, and so does everybody else, and I pretty regularly get comments. I get a lot of good comments, but I get some negative comments. There's plenty of places to put them, whether it's on Facebook or Twitter, or send me an email or a hate text or something. But there's plenty of places to give me bad replies, and I read them and look at them. Most of the time I don't address them, because you can't address everything. In this day and time, it seems like people get their feelings hurt, and the news is more about how somebody reacted to what happened more than what happened. But when I'm totally misunderstood, I have to address that. And earlier this week, when I was doing a report about how excited we were here at DV Auction, Cattle Market Central, and the National Beef Wire to have the Oklahoma National Stockyards participate in our real-time market reporting, I did describe the stockyards in Oklahoma City, and totally did not mean it in a disparaging way. I did refer to the stockyards as old school, and I totally meant that as a term of endearment. Anybody that knows me knows that how much I admire old school, and especially when it comes to stockyards. My office and home are littered with stockyards memorabilia back from the old river markets all the way through. I'm all about keeping the history going. Not that they're not doing things in Oklahoma City cutting edge. They sell us cattle as high as anybody else, and lots more of them than most any outfits could sell in months and months time. They do it every week. But I definitely was not referring to the Oklahoma stockyards in a disparaging manner. I've always loved Oklahoma City market. Never actually worked in that market, but when I was with USDA, I reported markets all over the country, and it didn't matter whether you were in Georgia, Montana, Pennsylvania, you know, anywhere, Texas, Missouri. It didn't matter where you were at. Long about middle of the afternoon on a Monday, somebody was going to ask me, what did Oklahoma City do? And that's the way it should be. And I don't want to live in a world where the Oklahoma National Stockyards are not the feeder cattle market of the nation on a Monday and setting the tone for the week. Now, albeit several years ago, that tone would usually hold for a whole week, but nowadays times it's so volatile, it can change just within an auction, let alone a week. But it does give you a good measuring stick early in the week on your feeder cattle market, and usually by the time we get to Wednesday on, we're looking for another gauge. But we are excited here, Cattle Market Central, to be having a portion of the information in Oklahoma National Stockyards on our real-time market reporting, where people can go in there and query for that data. If you have a National Beef Wire screen, you can watch that data come across real time, and likely people all over the country, especially in procurement offices and brokerage houses and banks all over the country, people are seeing what those cattle brought many times before they get pinned back in the pen where they're going. So we're excited about that. We're trying to push that. That is a tool that I have been lighting a fire under here the last 4 years or so that I've been with DV Auction, and we hope that that we end up getting all the information out of Oklahoma National Stockyards and not having to break it down by commission firms. Yeah, you know, it's an old school way of doing things. They have commission firms, which back in the day when they had the big river market stockyards, everybody did business commission firm. It's more of a personable way to do a market with a big outfit. It works very well for many. You know, I don't have a particular market that I root for or in favor of, except for St. Joe Stockyards. I did business there way too many years and bought and sold cattle in there for over 15 years, reported to market. Literally every person that is involved in the St. Joe Stockyards is a close personal friend of mine, and they run commission firms, and I'm all about it. But and any of you guys that want to consign cattle to the Oklahoma National Stockyards, don't think it's a cliquish deal that you can't get into. Pick one of the commission firms that you want to do business with, and big or small, they'd be glad to help you out. And the same way on the buying end too. So, but don't want to let that go any further, and just want to straighten that out right now. But let's get on with the market for the middle part of this week. The board June live cattle on Wednesday was down $1.15 to end the day at 101.82. August has went sub $1 now, down 135 to end the day at 99.05. Now you remember a couple months back, August was down there under $1, and me and a lot of other people thought it was undervalued, and so did the industry, and it didn't take long before it got spurred way back up over $1, but not sure where the support's going to come from to help it out this time. August feeder cattle down $1.72 on Wednesday at 136.72, and your May spot down 82 cents to end the day at 132.72. Your fats have been trickling in just like the last several weeks here. Early in the week through Tuesday, just Monday and Tuesday marketings, it already sold 37,700 head. Now that it's a sprinkling course of immediate delivery cattle and cattle for early June, and we continue to build that wall that's in front of the wall that had been advertised here for the last 3 to 6 months there. But most of the cattle that are selling for immediate delivery in the Southern Plains are from 116 to 117. Sold some more cattle on Wednesday at 116. So you know, as the board falls triple digits every day, we keep losing, but we haven't seen a big push to sell all the cattle at one price like we do many times. But a lot of pressure on this fat cattle market. But on Tuesday, we saw live sales all the way from 114 up to 122. Now, of course, your 122 is going to be to some regional packers for premium quality product there. And some of your lower prices at 114 is going to be for early June delivery. We saw a lot more of that early on Wednesday. We saw some 115 in Texas, and we've seen some 112 to 115 in Nebraska for out front delivery, and 180 to 184 on a dress basis. But for immediate delivery, shipping either this week or next, your market is pretty much 115 to 117. We have seen a lot of 16 and a lot more 17 than anything else. On your Monday and Tuesday trade, the weighted average on a live basis was 116.75, so close to 117. And your dress sales 184 to 192. Your weighted average through Tuesday was 188.04. Box beef cutout values have leveled off. We've probably seen the high for this initial push early in the spring, And your choice cutouts were down 61 cents on Wednesday to end the day at 231.03. Selects down $1.01 at 208.50. Look at your feeder cattle markets. Like I mentioned when I opened before I had to get to the sticky stuff. Your real-time index on Beef Market Central based on the 800-pound steers for the 7-day moving average up through the middle 12 states, just like your CME feeder cattle index, but current. Late in the day on Wednesday, 128.94, down a slick $6 even. That is hard to imagine on a moving weighted average like that being down that hard, but a lot of big sales on Wednesday and a lot of pressure on the market. Light demand pretty much everywhere, and we did note that a lot of your big sales noticed a plainer type quality. Some cattle, we're still getting some cattle off short wheat, some graze out type deals, but most of those cattle were put together cattle, and a lot of them with a southeastern influence. But OKC West and El Reno had a big sale there, 12,400 head this week. And keep in mind, guys, there's always an opportunity. I've been noting this for the last several weeks. You think 12,400 head's a lot of cattle out of El Reno? Same week last year, 16,900 head. Although we've got a lot of cattle hitting the market ready fat market right now and over the next 6 weeks or so, we have not placed a lot of cattle here for the last month or 6 weeks. That's going to come to fruit. There's a lot of cows that have been sold off due to dry conditions. Currently in the Midwest, they're selling droves of cows because they don't have pond water for them to drink. And there was a low conception rate in the northern plains last summer, which caused a lot of cows to be culled. And they'd run out of grass for them. And then whenever those cows that they were able to keep, they had a late spring blizzard or two. That wiped out another 20 to 30% of the baby calves in North Dakota, parts of Montana, northern South Dakota, even over into Nebraska. Those are all opportunities. You heard it here first. We're going to have $3 500-pound calves next spring. I don't see any way around it. We're going to be back in the same type of light supplies that we were there probably 2 or 3, 4 years ago. But the market at OKC West and El Reno, feeder cattle $4 to $8 lower, calves $7 to $10 lower. On Cattle Market Central, we talk about a lot of long strings of cattle, had over 35 strings of steers in El Reno that were a pot load or better, and a lot of them were multiple pot loads, 200 to 300 head in a string, or in a draft, I should say. But a lot of big drafts of cattle in El Reno, just a tough market, I tell you what. And that happens. I guarantee you, all your commission guys, whether they're working in a commission firm, in a historic stockyard, or whether they're a field representative in a newer sale barn, they all want your cattle to bring as much as they can bring. I was up in Canada, my trip, which I talked a lot about earlier in the week. Same way up there. The guy that I was talking to right before I left, he had to hurry back to his sale barn because he had a Monday sale, and he had a guy bringing him his whole calf crop. And he was almost emotional talking about that calf crop, and just really had high hopes for that guy because he knew that he had one cash crop a year. But that's the way your commission guys are, and it doesn't matter what type of market they're in. And here at DV Auction, in my reports, I support all auction markets, actually all type of markets, period, especially in your feeder cattle. The only exception might be a basis deal, because I think that's kind of a precursor to a formula. And if you are going to sell something on a basis, I think we need a more transparent futures market contract on your feeders. We're wanting to do that with real-time quotes. But look at some more markets here on Wednesday. Dodge City, Kansas, 2,700 head. Feeders, steers there, and heifers, $2 to $5 lower, except for some heavy 6-weight heifers, and they quoted those $4 higher. Not sure if they had a buyer in there that just had a particular order or what the deal was on that, but just a narrow range in there. 6-weight heifers sold higher than the previous week. Calves are $3 to $6 lower. Look at an individual quote from out east, and I tell you what, don't scoff at these guys out east, especially in Kentucky, Tennessee, a lot of these places where guys are keeping more of their homegrown calves and backgrounding them and adding value to them and selling green put together yearlings, and they're selling them high, guys. But at the Russell County Stockyards in Russell Springs, Kentucky, they sold 63 head of 787 pound steers at $139.70. That's your feeder flash for Thursday.